Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. I'm Kate Doherty with the Radical Ryan and the Magnificent Mac.
Oh, wow.
And the Practically Perfect Penny is off. Well, actually, she got in at 2:30 in the morning last night. And so anyway, and is still in the loo. So she will not be coming in today.
Makes
and
sense.
the Laura McReynolds, Miss
Oh.
McReynolds, the
Oh.
darling Laura McReynolds, is still in, I believe, Prague currently. So anyway, I guess we allow them to have family vacation and fun. I mean, I guess we do. However, what they both missed out on that I had an amazing time was the Glow Row last night.
That's right.
The Glow Row was amazing. Super fun. Loved it. Sam and Jen Dancer, our friends over at the Dancer Love Foundation, did an amazing job with it. Super grateful to the Culver Stockton Wildcat football team, who was Down Country's competitive team.
Oh.
So that way I did not have to be. Cause,
How about that?
Yeah, I know. We had 2 row machines in the Glow Row this year, and that was super fun. So anyway, it was good. And I hope that everybody is kind of excited about that and what they bring to the community.
No doubt.
Also, public service announcement.
Uh-oh.
October 21st
Here we
Big
go.
time.
is the deadline for iLearn scholarship applications and artwork. October 21st.
Pretty important.
It is very important. And people are like, what? You keep the scholarship applications open year round. You're right. We do. However, we have to have a date that we restart.
That's
So October 21st, if you want to be in Rhinestones and Rodeo this year, you want your scholarship application reviewed, October 21st is your deadline. You can turn it in early. You got 4 weeks, but scholarship deadline. Anyway, okay. And then I already warned my 2 lovely gentlemen co-hosts. We're going to have a conversation today,
Uh-oh.
and we're going to have a maybe a little interesting conversation. But first, I'm going to start with a little personal story.
Ooh. Okay, please. Yes.
Are you ready?
Grab your
Okay.
popcorn.
Yeah,
right.
well, it is. Okay, so one of the things that I guess if you listen to the show, I think sometimes I talk about it and sometimes I don't. But when I was 7 months pregnant with Elliot, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And actually, the doctor at the time said I had a miracle baby in my belly. Mac, you may not have even heard this story before.
No.
But the doctor said I had a miracle baby in my belly because they had no idea actually how Elliot had gotten there, because it was testicular cancer, is a type of cancer that my husband had. And testicular cancer is kind of a interesting beast. One, if you got to get a cancer, it's a great one to get. I mean, 9 out of 10 recommend getting that one, because they can, for most people, it's extremely, for lack of a better word, treatable is the word they use.
Absolutely.
And it can be, it isn't the death sentence that it once was, and it once was.
No doubt.
Anyway, it was kind of, it wasn't exactly, I would probably not recommend in the 7 month of pregnancy having this occur, but anyway, it did. And one of the things that was very interesting is one of the very first things they did when we got a testicular cancer diagnosis, and our doctor asked where we wanted to go, and we said Mayo.
Yeah.
And we went to Mayo, and the very first thing Mayo did after we knew what we were dealing with and we'd scheduled our surgery and we'd done the different things was they gave us a list. And it was a list created by Mayo and Johns Hopkins. And it was a list of things to remove from our life while we were fighting our battle with cancer. And it was a really interesting list.
Okay.
And it wasn't like this is what causes your cancer. It was while you were undergoing treatment, we don't want you to have or use these things.
Gotcha.
And I was shocked by the list, to be totally honest with you. So
Was
would
it
you?
kind of unusual or
Yeah.
just something you wouldn't think of?
Yeah. It was actually things that were in our home that we used every single day without thinking about. And I still have the list, so I can prove that this list was given to me. Because Ryan, you know me. You've been in my house. I hoard everything.
That's
Mac,
right.
you know me. I'm like, I
Got a lot of stuff.
I either get rid of it or I save it. When it comes to anything like this, I have paper copy, hard copy, copies. I don't get rid of anything that's related to medical.
That's right.
And so, microwave was one of the things
Okay,
that
yep.
it wanted us. And just so you guys know, I did have a microwave at the time. I pitched that baby out the window into the trash because I was freaked. I was
Sure.
7 months pregnant. I had a
Absolutely.
6-year-old. No, wait, Olivia was 9 whenever. Anyway, so I had a 9-year-old. And I freaking had a baby in my belly, and I was freaked out. And they were saying cancer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know one of the other things they told me to get rid of?
What?
Sugar.
Sugar.
Just straight sugar.
Sugar. Get rid of
Really?
it. Absolutely freaking get rid of sugar.
Huh.
Also on that list, diet soda.
That makes sense.
my
actually.
mom
Diet
would die.
soda. Diet soda. Yeah, I know, right?
makes
Everybody
sense.
has that. Diet soda actually over regular soda. They didn't want you to have regular soda either, but
Right.
diet soda over regular soda.
Makes sense, actually.
Plastic.
No
Yep.
plastic.
In any capacity. My kids we had glass baby bottles, plastic in any capacity.
Yeah.
I threw away every plastic container that we had in our entire house. And I had a lot of plastic containers.
Yeah.
Dyes. Anything, any food coloring, food that had any form of dye in it. Specifically, red dye was actually one of the things that they said was some of the worst of the worst. They also had recommendations on things to do, and they wanted no processed food, none.
Okay.
That
Like
makes-
get rid of it. No processed food. If it came out of a box, basically you could forget it. No cereals.
Okay.
Cereals because many of them are high in sugar and you don't realize it, and then they also have preservatives and different things in it. And you can say, "My God!" I mean, this is what my husband was saying. "My God, what am I going to eat? What am I
Right.
going to drink?
No doubt.
What am I going to do?" Like it was a real and present danger, kind of like Mac just said. His mom would die. Like no Diet Pepsi. What?
No Diet Pepsi, no Diet Coke.
What are we
I don't think
doing?
She could live without it.
I feel that. No, the reason I kind of am nodding, so my dad had 2 different types of cancers, so a lot of this stuff, I don't remember them. I was younger, so I don't remember the list, but I do remember some of those conversations of getting rid of certain things to the level that you're saying.
Yeah.
And still to this day, like something that, not to say we do have a lot of this stuff, but we regulate it a little bit more with what we got going on. So yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
No, I think
that's kind of where.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's not. They didn't say any of this was the cause of.
No.
They just said, while you're fighting this battle, get rid of this
Yeah.
and avoid it like the plague.
Because there are like some very minute things with it that may have a correlation to the cancer.
Yeah.
Because of plastics and processed, all the things. So,
Well,
yeah.
and one of the things with Tony that was different than testicular cancer typically is what they call a young man's disease. Actually, 16 to, I believe, 32, 34, I don't know. Depending on what you're reading, it kind of changes, but it really is. It's a young man
Yeah.
cancer. Don't know why. Tony was an outlier. He was older. I
Yeah.
mean, he was 36. I mean, so he was like 4 years outside. And so I think that's one of the reasons that they probably were a little bit more, hey, let's check this out.
What are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just found it really interesting. And one of the other things it stressed was, basically the clean eating.
Sure.
But how many colors of food that you could get on your plate. So we used to play a game when the kids were little with how many colors we could get on a plate. It became like when I grocery shopped, it became one of those pieces. And and again, at some point in time, I'll get to my point today, I promise.
I feel you.
But I don't believe that any one of those things particularly caused Tony's cancer. But I also know us cleansing those things out of our life actually he did survive. He was capable of eating food. He did not starve to death. You can live without Diet Pepsi or a soda. I mean, it is possible.
Wild.
And to this day, I will tell you, you can live without a microwave as well. It
Seems
does
kinda
freak people
far
out.
off. Seems kind of far-fetched.
But you can survive such things.
Sure.
And I say this because one of the things that we fast forward and then we have Elliot, right? And one of the things that we discovered at our very first conference were some interesting statistics for people with Down syndrome. And that was that 70% of them in their 30s develop celiac disease, which is where you can't process, your body cannot process gluten, many of the grains. And we actually met a lady who had just been diagnosed. She was 34 at the time, who, Christine Maxwell was her name, rocked an extra chromosome known as Down syndrome. And she was struggling because a dietary change in your 30s is really hard.
It's different.
Because you have favorite foods. You have things that you really like. And I remember, since Elliot was only 2 at the time, I remember thinking, well, I don't want him to have to struggle that much. If we reduce the gluten in our household now, we won't have that major big issue.
Right.
And I remember this right. You guys don't have gluten in your house for the most part, do you, Ryan?
At one point, we did not. My wife struggled with that. She never got fully diagnosed with it, but then she took it out, got better, and now she's slowly kind of reintroduced it back into her system, and it's gotten better. But yeah, at a time, we didn't have any gluten either.
Okay, so I'm really glad you played beautifully into what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So knowing what I know now after 15 years of this, we did remove it. And I don't know that it necessarily helped Elliot removing the gluten from our household, but I lost 40 pounds.
Right.
And I did not realize that you know what I mean? Maybe my body was just having an inability to process the gluten. And one of the things that I will run into families when I'm working with them is they will say things, and this might pertain to gluten or red dye or some of the different dietary. They'll say, well, we didn't pop positive, meaning like I didn't pop allergic to gluten, or we didn't come back with a celiac diagnosis, or we didn't pop positive to lactose intolerance, or we didn't. And I'm like, okay, well, I do understand that. One of the things that we're just beginning to understand, however, is this thing called sensitivities. And so, are you okay if I use the wife kind of as an example on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if you are not full on, you don't have celiac disease, full on, maybe you aren't allergic to the gluten, or you aren't allergic to the red dye or whatever. One of the things that can happen, and I know this actually because it happened to me. Like, I did this whole year of cleanse. Ryan was so sick of me being healthy, it was ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
But our bodies over time can build up. It's not necessarily that we're allergic, or maybe we don't even have full, but our bodies are having an inability to processing, and we keep heaping more and more and more into them.
Yep.
And gluten is a really good example of something that you can begin to have the symptoms and some of the issues related to it without having celiac disease, or without maybe even necessarily popping that. It's just, if you're eating pasta, and if you're eating rice, and if you're eating bread, and if you're eating these things that naturally have gluten in them,
Right.
and you're doing it, and when I think about my Midwestern diet, I mean, there was not a meal that went by that I did not have some component of that. Well, if you remove that, you also remove kind of that buildup.
Yeah.
And so you will find that if you do not have full-blown celiac, over time, you can kind of reintroduce. I can have a sandwich now, or I can have like, a great example. I love the place across the street from WGM Studios.
Yeah.
Like, I can eat their bread.
Yeah.
And because it only has 3 ingredients in it. And so I think these things become very important as part of conversations. And as we do the show today, I would like to kind of nurture conversations such as this. And the reason I want to is because if you start to feel sick when you eat a food, or if it's messing up your tummy, it's causing a headache, whatever, I do think it's important to you can begin to look at some of these things. And while you may not have a celiac diagnosis, if your tummy is hurting, if you're aching, if you're having those issues, maybe try it for a couple weeks where you go without. Now, don't try it for a couple weeks without and then go try and get a celiac test, because you aren't going to pop positive. If you don't have gluten in your diet, you are not popping positive for
That's
celiac.
right. That's right.
In order to pop positive for celiac, you got to have the junk in your diet. So it's like a double-edged sword. Merry Christmas, you got to eat enough of it to make you sick so they'll test positive
That's
for
right.
the test.
That's right.
How much fun is that?
It's a ton.
Yeah, great times. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, because I think we're missing something as part of a whole life dialogue. And this past week just kind of amplified that for me. So for now, this is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. I'm Kate Doherty with the Radical Ryan. Practically Perfect Penny is off poofing around, and the lovely Laura is still on vacay. We have the magnificent Mac with us, however, today, and I obviously still have my Radical Ryan.
That's right.
And today I kind of threw the boys under the bus, because I'm like, okay, boys, we're going to talk about some tougher stuff.
Getting crazy up in here.
Well, it's important stuff,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
part of the reason I shared what I shared in the first segment is because this past week, you did have the conversation that started when RFK and Trump came out and said they had some new findings on autism. And, I'm always amazed, and I will say this as a disability rights advocate, the autism community fights so bad among itself that it makes my heart so sad, because what I wish for them as a community is that you would recognize, you guys all say autism is a spectrum. Thank you. I mean, they do. We say this. It's a spectrum. And yet everybody to this day still tries to do a one-size-fits-all approach to it. And it makes my heart sad. So there are people who are upset because of the findings and possible linkings that they've come out with. And I struggle with this. And I say this as I work with a lot of different parents. And I work with some parents who want their kids 100% included, like my Elliot is, right? And obviously that's my personal choice bent. I work with other parents who do not want their child in general education setting. They want them in a separate, they want them in a self-contained setting. And they do so, like, that is their choice as parents. That's what they believe is best for their child. And you find that there are educators all over the roadmap. And as we just said on break, everybody has an opinion, and they're like derrieres, because everybody's got one of those too, and most of them stink.
No doubt.
What's a derriere?
A derriere? You want to know what a derriere? I love you, Mac. I love that. A derriere is a rear end. It's French for
Oh, you
rear
actually didn't
end.
know? I thought he was joking. Okay, all
There
right.
I'm
you go.
18. I don't know a
That's
lot of
fine.
these things. Like,
That's all right.
Well, when would you have known French? I mean, seriously, derriere. I
Good
mean,
point. Yeah, you kinda-
but look how Cosmo you are that you know what a
Seriously,
derriere
I'm
is.
pretty awesome. You know what I mean? I
You
get
know,
it.
and there's somebody listening to the show today who goes, I had no idea what a derriere is.
Right, yeah.
So thank you,
We
Mac,
helped
for
them- we helped them
clarifying.
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
just so you know, a lot of like my generation, 18, 19, 20, we don't necessarily get the.
derriere
Derriere.
I'm not trying to call you guys old.
No, but you are at the same time. I totally
There's a
understand.
generational gap in,
But he
in
is.
linguistics here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. This is fantastic. Okay. So
But back to what you were saying
Yeah.
again. Everyone has this opinion.
everybody has different opinions.
No doubt.
And within the autism community, there are some parents and who are like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? There's no way this is possible.
doubt.
Okay. I understand and do whatever you need to do. Within the autism community, there are also people like there's a therapy that many people like for autism, ABA therapy. And within the community, there are also people who are 100% anti-ABA therapy. And then there are people who want ABA therapy in schools. And then there are people who do not want ABA therapy in schools. And you can say this is confusing. Like, it is confusing. But if you look at it from a broader context, it's actually not that confusing. Why? Because every child is 100% unique. They may share an umbrella diagnosis.
But
But what works for one may not work for another.
biggest problem is that with our human minds, what we usually try to do is, well, a lot of the time what we want to do is we want to find the one singular solution for absolutely everything within a problem. You know what I mean? Like, but the biggest problem is almost every single problem that is as big, and I'm not calling autism a problem, but like a issue, I guess you could say, like a difference, like a different
difference.
scenario,
Yeah.
situation. Like, they don't have one singular resolution kind of that's going to work for absolutely everybody, and everything's going to turn out perfectly, and it's all going to be solved. That's just, it's not really how things like that work.
Well, and because it's also different, like based on, I have friends. I have some friends right now who they are just, they're furious. You know what I mean? Like, how could this happen? How could they be saying this? And they're not happy about it. I have other friends that are crying, and because they are the word of one of my friends, and she has a young man who actually has Down syndrome and autism and regressive disorder. And she said, if there's even a possibility that they have a drug treatment that might work to give me a quarter of my son back, a quarter, she's like, sign me up. Her life experience is 100% different from my other friend's life experience.
Right.
Like, part of this has to do with where on that spectrum you are as far as where they do that. I celebrate all my friends who are neurodivergent. Having said that, I'm going to say I do not think that discussion on these topics is wrong. No. And I do think the fact that they just added, and this is the piece that I feel like I was scrolling this morning, Ryan, you know I was scrolling. We just added $50 million more to autism research.
Sure.
$50 million more.
It's a big deal.
And it's to look at not just genetic factors, but environmental factors, to look at all these different pieces that we haven't looked at before. I just kind of am like, whether you are happy about this announcement this week or unhappy about this, and could we just go, how cool is it we got $50 million more to study this?
Well, and that's, I think, the biggest thing. I mean, it's the money with it. It's an idea, you know what I mean, that it could possibly help. Again, not everyone, but some. And I think what I think people get bogged down by, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I agree one way or the other, is sometimes also where that information comes from. And that's the unfortunate thing. That when you have one side of the aisle or other having an idea of how it may help, that's where I think it loses people. And it's unfortunate, because I do think the overall big picture is it doesn't matter where that information is coming from. Well, I mean, it does, but how it's being presented doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, like you said, $50 million is going towards more research. You're having different outcomes kind of come out of it that actually, it might not help my son or daughter, but Kate, it might help your son or daughter in the grand scheme of things. But Mac, you hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
We are in a society that is, I have to be right, and my idea has to be the only one. And if it isn't, and you disagree with that, you are 1,000% wrong. And there is zero communication. I look at it from so many different levels, and I know I'm in a sports world, you know, with my show and stuff, but it starts there. It starts in so many other areas that it's like we have gone away with the discussion side of things. We have gone away with let me hear you out. Because Kate, there, and I don't mean to, last thing, there are things that you say on this show outside of it that I don't agree with. There are things
Shocking.
that, right. But I mean this in a good way. There are things that I say that you don't agree with. But guess what? What you have said, one is your idea, and number two, it works for you. Same thing with mine. But it's also not to say I might not agree with it. I may look at it and say, that's interesting. I don't agree with it. But how can maybe some of what you're doing incorporate with me? How can some of that help? Let me tweak it to help myself out, or whatever the case is. But we struggle with that because I don't want to sit here and say Kate was right, because if I say Kate was right, gosh darn it, that means I'm wrong, when it really isn't the case.
Well, and I think the bigger thing when it comes to like, not bigger, but I mean, like kind
Yeah.
of in this thing.
Yeah.
Like, so when we put ourselves in these silos,
No doubt.
you know what I mean? Like, this is right. This is, and again, I do believe there's a right and wrong. You know, what I mean?
no doubt.
No, I'm not,
Yeah.
not saying that. Like, I do believe there is a right and wrong. However, in discussions, we don't know.
No.
Like, when I don't know, one of the things that I find when you take these extreme stances, and to your point of, you know, based on whoever puts it out there, what you lose is the ability to experiment, to try it, to, you know what? Okay, so you don't have enough information right now. Well, you aren't going to have enough information unless you allow somebody to try it, or you see what happens, or you go back, or you collect the research, or you learn the information. Like, and going back to our first segment, when we're talking about like some of these things like relating to diet, like, I understand not everybody wants to even give that a shot.
No.
You certainly don't have to. But I do think we've also gotten to be where we expect a magic pill,
Oh, 100%.
and
Yes.
we want, boom, we want something to just fix it.
Yeah.
And I don't really know that that's the best way to go about doing things. And I also think, I realize we have Western medicine and you have Eastern medicine. And I also realize that when you look at, I mean, I have friends who, if you bring up a food supply situation, they will shut down your argument right away.
Right.
And say, oh, well, I'm just fine. That doesn't bother me. Okay, well, that's not the point.
Right.
It's not about you, because you aren't the person who's having an issue with it.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful if it doesn't affect you. I think that's phenomenal. But
But it may affect somebody else.
it may affect somebody else. And with this week, this particular discussion, the rise in autism does affect all of us. And yes, it is a spectrum. And yes, I fully support my friends who are neurodivergent. However, I do believe it is something worth listening to all the opinions and learning everything we can about this particular situation. And in order to do that, we are all going to have to step away from an I'm right, you're wrong situation.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
It's like, even if you're not right on something, that doesn't undo everything you've kind of done, because then it's like,
Yeah.
what I think of like how we learn in life, I think of it as like, okay, it's kind of like a road where we go down one line of thinking. And if that line of thinking is not correct, then the road doesn't stop being built. It just kind of does a little bit of a loop around, kind of like a detour
Yeah.
in a different direction. And it's going to go all sorts of different directions all of your life.
Hopefully, pray God, you'll
That's
always
what-
be learning.
Well, if you have a healthy kind of, I want to say like a healthy ego, kind of like a healthy
100%.
mind, always learning, and you're bouncing around all these directions because there's no particular one destination you're trying to get to. This is just seeing, do you have the ability to kind of change directions and go down a different road of thought? And then to be able to switch again and try this as each unique situation comes up.
And when you can do that, you can better support hashtag everyone,
Oh, yeah.
which for now, this is hashtag everyone, talking about hashtag everything. Good Sunday morning. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. I'm Kate Doherty with the Radical Ryan and the Magnificent Mac this morning. My practically perfect Penny and my lovely Laura are not in the house. However, I have to thank both gentlemen with me today because it was a little nerve-wracking coming in this morning and knowing...
Hot topic.
Yeah, hot topic.
Yeah,
hot topic. I mean, and seeing how, I mean, whether you're reading the Wall Street Journal or whether you're on social media, I mean, everybody has something to say about this.
Week.
Yeah. And yeah.
Pretty big findings. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty crazy, especially for somebody as young as me, who's like, of course, you know, my generation, always on their dang phones.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, but it's just, I mean, this is big. This is kind of crazy what's happening right now. It's a bit
Well,
confusing.
and the people
will
who
admit.
are balanced that I've enjoyed listening to, because again, you have people that are mad as heck about this. You have other people that are fully in support of this. And then you have other people who are like, you know what? I'm just glad people are talking about it.
Right.
And it's in the front. And I'm, you know, and I would say I don't know what causes autism. I mean, I don't. And guess what? Right now, nobody else does either.
It might not be just one thing. It might be like
Thank
a
you.
plethora.
It's like, again, that's why I brought up that cancer piece at the beginning. Like, I don't know what caused Tony's testicular cancer. I have no earthly idea.
It is throughout the world. I feel like this is the one prevailing truth that something never really has just one absolute particular cause.
No.
It's always like A leads to B, and then C comes along, and C kind of adds on to B, and then D and E come along, and then A shows up again, and all five of those translate into F. You
Well,
know
yeah,
what
I mean, actually, to bring up a funny meme recently, I mean,
Oh, no. Oh, no.
no, it is. I mean, it is funny, but it's like there's been some of those memes where it's like the health guru has passed away at the age of whatever, 50 or whatever, and then you have the hardcore rock and roll guy who's still up there, you know,
Doing his
shaking
thing.
his moneymaker, who's lived the hardest of hard life, and it's like. Feel like this has me rethinking my healthy
sense
life
at all.
choices.
Oh,
No. What are we doing here?
I mean, and it's a joke because obviously, if you take care of your body, right?
Well,
I mean,
and
like it's
well,
a
there's
better
no
choice.
doubt, and I think if we look at that real quick, like sometimes you things happen. Like that's the other thing that I don't. There doesn't actually have to be necessarily a rhyme or reason to it. It just kind of happens. You know, and I know that's not the best thing to say to some people, but yeah, like, again, when I got diagnosed with diabetes, there was no reason other than like, oh, you may have had someone in your family that had a different autoimmune disease. We all have autoimmune diseases in us, and yours just translated into diabetes.
And you're like, Merry freaking
Like,
Christmas.
that's cool.
Welcome
Because-
to the world. Nothing makes
But
sense.
the reality is, like, again, I, like so many people, because I get it, wanted to know the why. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know the why. And there's also nothing wrong with people having different opinions. I think that's the other piece of this too.
And treatment options.
Well, that as well.
I mean,
But I think we as a society need to revert and go back to the, hey, I hear what you're saying. What about this? Rather than, no, you're an idiot. I'm moving on to what I think is right.
And
Yeah.
I don't
that's
know.
the part that's the part that is, I think, making a lot of this go haywire, unfortunately, because we don't have the communication piece.
And I don't know if it's necessarily a reversion back to that, because that kind of sounds like we're stepping back. No, I don't think of it as a reversion. I think of it more as like a readoption. Like you don't
No,
revert
absolutely.
back to your shovel because your rake is not working. You just readopt the shovel again, and then you might need the rake later. I mean, it's not reversion, because I feel like that's kind of a word that a lot of people get caught up on. I don't think of it like that. This is just how I personally think. It's more of a readoption, you know? Like, it's not like we're going back and we're forgetting everything else. We're picking
You're
this back
adding-
up because now we can see
Right.
that it's useful now again, so we should probably pick it back up.
No doubt. No doubt.
well, and I think that anytime that you begin, my biggest thing is I want to help people live the best life that they have, and when it comes to this conversation, and when it comes to all my friends who are parents of kids who are on spectrum, all of their life experiences, all of their situations with their children there is no one size fits all. It literally is not. I mean,
Even if it isn't a kid on the spectrum, isn't a one size fits all for kids?
no, it is not a one size fits
Like
all
at
for
all.
kids. Period.
No.
My sister and I were
and that's
incredibly
what
different.
Yeah.
I mean, different parenting strategies. What works for one, I don't parent any of my 3 children the same way. If I were to put Ella in a timeout, my God, when she was little, she would have been devastated. There would have been tears for hours. Elliot, it was like he needed timeout, you know? And I mean, now there's people who say, oh, you should never put your kid in timeout. Well, you know what? I think that's ridiculous because, I mean, I'm just here to tell you.
Or it's okay. Thank you for your thought, but this works for me, and I'll think about what you got going on there.
Thank you. Please give me another solution for how I may possibly parent through this.
But again,
because
but that's and to kind of go with it, it's not to say that parent is wrong with thinking don't put your kid in timeout, because to them their kid maybe doesn't need that, to where mine might, or whatever. So I just want to point that out. Like
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And if you don't need to do that with your child,
Right.
fantastic.
Good for you.
But for others,
Yeah.
how about we leave it on the plate as an option?
Right.
And I feel like let's just put this all on the plate. Like one of the things that I do like about Mayo, that when we go to Mayo,
Right.
that is laid out for us as regards to treatment options, is they give you a plethora of options, and they do tell you, like, this is protocol. And when you say protocol, well, what is medical protocol? Medical protocol, depending on the situation, is just kind of like what the medical advice is. However, before medical protocol is able to change, like they have to have, it takes years. You are 10 to 20 years behind, because before you can adjust that protocol, it's not the easiest thing. So like when we go to Mayo, they say, well, this is what current protocol is. Right. However, we've also seen this interesting research and this interesting research, and there are some people who are willing to try some new therapies or participate in research trials or to do different things outside of what the normal protocol is. And there are others who are like, no, I don't want to do the normal protocol.
And that's okay. I mean,
It's because it does become a point and part of it. It's not a right, wrong. I have friends who've had breast cancer. Some of them have opted, for a total radical mastectomy. For others, they have opted for smaller, different versions and everything in between.
100%.
But that they took the information that was given to them and they made the decisions that they felt were right for their life. And I think when we have these conversations, I guess that's all I would ask everybody is, could we please just understand that while you may not like something that's come out or that someone has to say, someone else on the other side is probably celebrating that fact. So when we begin to listen and at least understand those life experiences, I believe we can better together.
Agreed.
one size does not fit all. I feel like that's the overarching kind of topic of today's show. It's just, no matter what it is, one particular solution or answer or way of doing things is not going to suit everyone. I mean, 100%. like I'm trying to think of another good example of my own that I can think of. Well, and I hate to deviate to food here. I'm a little bit, I think of myself as a little bit tubby, but my mom says I've been getting thinner, but I don't know. I still enjoy her cooking the same way I always have.
That's no doubt.
But
I'd
it's
weigh
like,
500 pounds if I lived in that house.
my friends ask me how I'm not obese, the things that she's able to churn out.
Yeah.
Just no, but it's like, I mean, for example, it's like my mom, when she makes brownies, she'll always have vanilla ice cream out. And like, my dad doesn't like ice cream with his brownies, but I do. So, but it's like, you still leave it on the table because like some people might want it, some people might want to try it. And that's just kind of the way it is with everything. I mean, don't limit options just because this is what worked for you, because what worked for you might not work for somebody else, but what didn't work for you might be exactly what somebody else needs.
Yeah.
Hashtag leave the vanilla ice cream out.
Leave,
I like
leave the ice cream out.
I like the brownie analogy. It's right. Like, leave
Leave
it
the ice
out.
cream out.
All right, guys. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed listening to today's show. We had a good time doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
As you go out in the week, remember every child is a gift. Every child can learn, and every child does learn differently.
And keep an open mind, and one size does not fit all.
Yep, exactly. This is hashtag everyone talking about hashtag everything. See you next week.